love Cam Carr from Baylor. I thought could go somewhere in the mid-teens, late teens, gets picked at 24 to the Lakers. Lakers needed somebody that could defend on the perimeter, space the floor. Cam Carr does both of those things, and he's an elite level athlete.
So in my video on the Los Angeles Lakers roster transactions, I made you guys a promise that I was going to bring you guys a video talking about Cam Carr because I think his role for the Los Angeles Lakers is going to be very significant. So for those of you guys that don't know, the Lakers just spent more than $250 million in a single week. They shipped Utah 2 unprotected first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. They lost LeBron James, and after all that, the player who might swing their entire season is a 21-year-old rookie making $3.3 million, who found out he'd been traded while he was still walking up to shake Adam Silver's hand. Cameron Carr, the 24th overall pick, 2 summer league games in, and half of basketball Twitter had already decided the other 23 teams blew it. But this isn't a story about a hot shooting night, guys, because Rob Pelinka stood in front of reporters this offseason and told me exactly what the Lakers' plan is now. According to his words, player development is going to be a huge thing that the Lakers lean into. That's it. That's the strategy. They're out of picks, they're out of cap space, they're hard capped. So they're going to develop. And the man who just bought this basketball team also owns the single best player development operation in American professional sports. Cameron Carr is the first live test of whether any of that actually transfers. So we're going to break down his summer league here. Before we get to the content, we are still running a massive Grand Theft Auto 6 giveaway, giving away 20 copies to multiple subscribers that turn on their notifications on this channel. I'm running the same giveaway on Snapchat, Instagram, X, and Twitter. So if you want additional entries, make sure you're followed there. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro.
Shout out to that boy Flight Mike, man. I feel so good that I'm doing these reactions, man. Like, I feel like I'm with the game been missing, man. How would the game been missing? I'm with the game.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let's do the real numbers first, because the highlight accounts have been clipping around some pretty inconvenient stuff. Game 1, the California Classic against Golden State. Carr goes for 19 points on 7 of 15 from the field and knocks down 5 threes on 11 attempts. A game high. Beautiful. Except the Lakers lost that game, 104-72. It was a 32-point beating. Golden State outscored them 29-10 in the second quarter. Carr was the only Laker on that floor who looked like he belonged, which is a compliment and an indictment at the exact same time. 2 days later against Miami, he took the lead, 26 points and 8 rebounds, and the Lakers came back from 10 down with 10 minutes left to win 93-91. Through regulation, through overtime, and then through a sudden death possession, Miami led that game basically wire to wire. Carr dragged them back into it. Across those 2 nights, he shot 9 of 20 from 3, 45% on volume in his first 2 professional games. And then there was game 3, which almost nobody's talking about. Against San Antonio, on the end of a back-to-back, Carr finished with 5 points on 2 of 7 shooting and didn't play the second half at all. Part of that was rest. Part of it was that he picked up 3 fouls before halftime and it hamstrung him. The Lakers won anyway, 88-84. I'm telling you this because I'm not just going to sell you a 2-game sample as a career. 3 games in, and the honest read is this: 2 spectacular nights, 1 quiet one, and a body that's still figuring out how to absorb NBA contact. Well, anyone could just read you stats off of a stat sheet. What I really want to show you is some film, because the film is what really convinces me about this kid. This play actually starts at the beginning of the game, with neither team getting a bucket thus far. This just means that the ball needs to find its way to Cameron Carr's hands. The ball starts in Pete Suter's hands up top, before he hands it to William Hickey at the logo. Hickey then gives it back to Suter, followed by Cameron Carr running from the corner, coming to receive yet another handoff from Peter Suter. Then there's even more passing, with Carr swinging the back over to Hickey, before there's finally a screen action, with Anton Watson setting up a screen up top, allowing Hickey to run around it and start this action from the mid-range. At the same time, Watson continues wrapping around the perimeter after his initial screen to go set an off-ball screen for Cam Carr, allowing Hickey to pass him the ball in a wide-open lane, due to the fact that Watson's defender was stuck down low, giving both Carr and Watson wide-open space in the mid-range and setting up a beautiful option play here for Carr. Carr can either drive to the paint and attack the big man, dish the ball to Watson for what looks like like an easy assist, or he can pull up in the giant zone that is left near the free throw line.
Wide
This
open.
decision all depends on what the center does. If the center steps up on Carr, Carr can choose to use his speed and drive past him, or he can swing it to Watson for a wide open 3 on the pop. If the center stays down low to protect the
That's a
paint,
jump
that
shot.
mid-range hole will be wide open, which is exactly what happens. The center hesitates for just a second, and that's enough time for Carr to make his decision. Carr pulls up from right inside the free throw line and nails a wide open mid-range for the first points of the game. Now, this was a beautiful play, but it's not successful if you don't have a player with not only the offensive talent that Carr has, but also the pure basketball instinct that Carr has, which is a very impressive play from him. The second play I want to show you is from early on in the second quarter of that same game, and it yet again shows you the elite instinctual ability of Cameron Carr. Carr starts with the ball at the top of the key here and begins a two-man game with Adu Thero, which has been arguably my favorite part of watching this Lakers Summer League team so far. Carr runs around the Thero screen, and we once again see the exact same choice as the last play. However, the difference between this play and that play is that this play has the screener, Thero in this case, rolling to the basket instead of popping to the three-point line. This causes the center in the paint to actually drop down and guard the roller instead of playing that middle ground that he did in the last play, and it results in some actually solid pick and roll defense from Miami. The Miami center drops down, and the man guarding Carr steps up in front of him just in time before Carr looks to go for a pull-up jump shot. However, Carr notices a couple of things here. He notices that 1, he has a high release jump shot, and 2, he has a major size advantage over his defender. So instead of ending the play there and finding somebody else to handle the ball, Carr just decides to pull up anyway, banging this mid-range over his undersized defender, and once again showing off Cameron Carr's pure scoring ability and basketball IQ. His Summer League coach, Ty Abbott, put it plainly after the debut. He's got an ability to read the game. That's coach speak for the thing you cannot instill in a player. Here's the part that keeps me honest though. Sports Reference lists Cameron Carr at 6'5", 175 pounds. And that brings us to the other stuff his coach said about him. After praising Cam Carr, Abbott mentioned that this kid needs to add some muscle. And that's not a nitpick because he's actually right. Because he's actually right. So why did Cam Carr fall to number 24? Because that number, 175 pounds, scared a lot of people. Let's do the resume. At Baylor last season, Carr went for 18.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 1.3 blocks on 49.4% from the field and 37.4% from 3. His 642 points set a Baylor single season record for a sophomore and ranked 5th in program history for any class. 3rd team all Big 12, 4th in the conference in scoring, a 62.2% true shooting mark. For
Nah,
those of
he's
you
a
guys that don't
thuggin',
know what
Buck.
true shooting is, it's the stat that folds 2s, 3s, and free throws into one honest efficiency number, which is elite for a guy carrying that kind of scoring load. And this is one season, not a tenure. He barely played 2 years at Tennessee. He lost the season to injury. He transferred to Waco and immediately became one of the best players in the Big 12. Scott Drew called him as athletic as any player that we've had here, and Drew has coached a national championship team. Then he went to the combine in Chicago and dropped 30 points with 6 threes in the scrimmage, measured a 7-foot wingspan and a 42.5-inch max vertical, and then he just sat out day 2. Nothing left to prove. 24 teams passed. Christian Anderson Jr. went 18th to Charlotte. Allen Graves went 19th to Toronto. Good players, but if you told a room of scouts in November that a 19-point Big 12 scorer with a 7-foot wingspan and a 42-inch vertical would still be there at 24, they would have laughed at you. So why did he fall? Well, according to Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley, Carr's handle lacks wiggle and his playmaking lacks vision. But he also said this is awesome value at this spot in the draft. Both things are in the same paragraph. Baylor went 17-7, 6-12 in the Big 12, 13th place. They missed the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. Their defense finished 242nd in the country in defensive rating. Carr was the leading scorer on a 500 team that couldn't guard anybody. You can wave that off by just saying the roster around him was was a transfer portal experiment that had failed, and it was. Or you can say a real first-round talent drags a 500 team into the tournament. Both arguments are very valid here. The league picked the second one, and the Lakers are betting big on the first one. So the Lakers held pick 25. Carr was there at 24, so Rob Pelinka got on the phone with New York and moved up exactly one spot. Cash considerations, plus the rights to the guy that they were going to take at 25. Nobody told Carr. The Knicks called his name. He stood up, he started walking, and somewhere between his seat and the stage the news reached him, ESPN cameras caught him mouthing it. "I'm getting traded?" He hadn't worked out for either team. 20 seconds after the best moment of his life, he found out where he actually worked. And honestly, he didn't do too shabby for himself. A 4-year, $16.82 million rookie scale deal. Against a salary cap
That's
around
good bread.
$165 million, Cam Carr costs the Lakers about 2% of their cap, which is a big deal because everything else the Lakers own is expensive. LeBron told them that he's playing elsewhere. Rui Hachimura signed with the Clippers. Marcus Smart went to Houston. Luke Kennard to Phoenix. Jackson Hayes to Utah. DeAndre Ayton got shipped to Washington for Jaden Hardy and 2 second-round picks. The entire supporting cast for the Lakers is gone. What replaced it is Walker Kessler on a 4-year, $130 million sign and trade, which costs unprotected first-round picks in 2031 and 2033, plus swaps in 2028 and 2030. Austin Reeves at 4 years, $185 million. Quentin Grimes at 4 years and $60 million. Sandro Mamukelashvili, 4 years and $52 million. Colin Sexton on the room exception. Kevon Looney on a 1-year deal. Add it all up, and the Lakers now have 0 tradable first-round picks. 1 swap left in 2032. And since Kessler came in via sign and trade, they are hard capped at the first apron. A hard ceiling of $209.1 million for 15 players. That's not a tax bill they can eat, that's a wall. Luka, Reeves, and Kessler alone eat up about $121 million of a $165 million cap. They're currently sitting less than $6 million under the tax line and about $14 million under the hard cap, with no exceptions left. Minimum contracts from here on out, forever. And the hole on this roster is at the 3. So there are starter adjacent wing minutes sitting on the floor in Los Angeles, assuming they don't acquire Jonathan Kuminga. And the front office has no money to buy them and no picks to trade for them. The one thing they have is a 21-year-old on $3.3 million who is the best player on the floor in 2 of his first 3 professional games. Walker Kessler's deal averages $32.5 million a year. Cam Carr costs about a tenth of that. In a hard-capped league, that gap is the roster. And here's where it gets interesting. I'm personally really excited as a Laker fan because the Dodger people are officially in the building. Farhan Zaidi and Andrew Friedman took on advisory roles, according to Ramona Shelburne. Lon Rosen came over as the president of business operations in February. Michael Spetner followed in March as chief strategy and growth officer. And in May, Rob Pelinka hired Rohan Ramadas as assistant GM for strategy and data. A man one league source described to ESPN as a literal rocket scientist because he spent 12 years doing guidance and navigation work in aerospace before he ever touched a basketball spreadsheet. So what exactly are the Lakers importing here? Understand what the Dodgers actually are. They built a 3-story performance innovation laboratory at their spring training complex, staffed largely by people from science and engineering backgrounds. They run one of the largest analytics departments in baseball, and they have a reputation for turning cast-offs into stars. Max Muncy was released by Oakland and became an all-star. Chris Taylor came over in a nothing trade and became an October hero. So the Lakers, for the first time in their modern history, are going to be run like a modern organization. And the very first draft pick made under that new structure by a scouting department that has been gutted and rebuilt was Cameron Carr. Let me argue the other side of this, because I know I have a reputation of calling every Lakers draft pick a steal. Let's talk about Dalton Knecht. 2 summers ago, Knecht wasn't just good in Vegas, he led all rookies in Summer League scoring at 21.3 points a game with 5.3 boards and 1.7 steals. And his rookie year backed it up. 9 points a night on 46% shooting, 37.6 from 3, 78 games, 16 starts. He hit 9 threes in a game against Utah on his way to 37 points, which tied a rookie record. That was a real NBA player. He still plays for the Lakers, by the way. Last year, in 54 games, he got 1 start, 10 minutes a night, 4.2 points. The Lakers shot him at the deadline and found no takers. His name is not on this year's Summer League roster at all. So pay attention to that, the Lakers took a scoring wing who was already good and in 12 months turned him into a guy that nobody wanted, who isn't invited to Summer League, who they've already picked up an option on just so they have something to dump. I'm gonna be honest, this is a development failure, and it happened in that building under this coaching staff 2 years ago. There's another problem, and this one's worse. Rob Pelinka said he was hiring 2 assistant general managers, one for cap analytics and data. The other, in his words, are for pro scouting, draft scouting, and player development. He already hired Ramadas for the first one in May, but the second one is still empty. As of this week, still empty. So the franchise's entire stated strategy is player development, and the executive whose job is player development does not exist yet. Finally, Friedman and Zaidi are not coming. They're just there to get the structure built and then step back to their day jobs. Lon Rosen said it himself, "I just run the business side." Rob's empowered to do what he does. Rosen and Spetner are very valuable as marketing, ticketing, and a global brand. They're valuable, but they're not a shooting coach. And the fourth one actually bothers me. Baseball development and basketball development.
Wait, so wait. So you telling me they just helping him get the money in order, but they ain't
Aren't
okay.
the same thing, guys. You can rebuild a slider grip with a high-speed camera and a spin rate model. You cannot analytics your way into 20 pounds of functional muscle on a 175-pound frame between now and October. The Dodgers turned Blake Treinen's slider into a completely different pitch. Nobody's ever turned a 6'4" guard into a wing.
Yeah.
With all that being said, I still think Cam Carr is the biggest and most important role player of the Lakers this year. Not because he shot 45% from 3 in a 2-game sample, because of that first possession against Miami, second professional game of his life. 4 options in front of him, less than a second to choose, and he chose right. That's the thing you cannot install. That's the thing the Dodgers laboratory cannot manufacture. And everything he can't do, the frame, the handle, the on-ball creation, is precisely the list of things a serious development operation exists to fix. That's the bet. The Lakers are betting that the unteachable stuff is already in the building, and the teachable stuff is what Mark Walter just bought. Hopefully they're right, because if Cam Carr turns into Dalton Connect 2.0, if he's just a July highlight who plateaus into 10 minutes a night, the Lakers don't have a lot of flexibility to replace him. No cap space to sign a replacement, no exception left, no trade capital, nothing. Cam Carr is not an X factor because he might average 12 points a game. He's the X factor because he's the only cheap upside this franchise has left, and $250 million worth of decisions are sitting on top of him. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
Shout out to Fly Mike, man. Like, there's too much analytics going on out here, man. I don't get it. I feel like motherfuckers need to just watch the hoops. We'll be good. Love y'all. I'll be back in a second, another couple minutes. See y'all soon, man.